Discover the miraculous story of Passover, a sacred journey revealed in the Old and New Testament. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, the weight of oppression loomed over the Israelites in the land of Egypt. The cruel hand of Pharaoh gripped their hearts, filling them with despair. In Ramses, the ancient city bustling with merchants and weary slaves, the cries of labor echoed endlessly. Among the multitude stood Moses, a Hebrew cloaked in the privileges of Egyptian royalty, yet deeply knitted to the heritage of his people. As he walked through the harrowing streets, a storm of emotions churned within him, anger, sorrow, and a divine stir. He heard their cries, felt their pain, and in that desolation, the echoes of God's promise resounded within him, the covenant made with Abraham that his descendants would be a great nation, inheriting the land promised to them. On a tranquil day, the sun dipped low and bathed Mount Horeb in golden hues, where Moses ventured, burdened yet hopeful. As he approached, curiosity ignited when he saw a bush engulfed in flames but never consumed. As he drew nearer, the voice of God pierced through the crackling fire. "Moses, Moses." It was then that the weight of his people's suffering surged through him, igniting a calling deep within. God commissioned him to return to Egypt, to confront Pharaoh with a message of liberation that reverberated across time. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select All Notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. Despite his insecurities and doubts, Moses stood before the mighty Pharaoh, God's commands echoing in the chambers of his mind. Each encounter with the hardened heart of the king brought forth unsettling plagues, the bloodied waters of the Nile, swarms of locusts darkening the skies, and an all-consuming darkness that enveloped the land for 3 days. In the midst of anguish, the Israelites began to glimpse a fragile hope as they witnessed the might of the God of their fathers. But Pharaoh remained obstinate, his heart as stone, thrusting the Israelites deeper into uncertainty. Each refusal compounded their despair, yet in secret, they clasped their fleeting hope amidst whispered prayers. Then came the command for the final plague, the breaking point of divine intervention. Moses instructed every household to sacrifice a lamb, to mark the blood upon their doorposts. It was a heavy command, a promise veiled in shadow, yet the weight of salvation lingered in the air. As midnight approached, silence draped over Egypt, thick with anticipation. A terrible cry sounded through the streets as the firstborns fell, while the homes of the Israelites remained untouched, the aroma of consecrated lamb wafting through their air, a symbol of impending freedom. With the dawn's light, a new breath of life hung, and Pharaoh's oppressive command crumbled. "Go. Take your people and leave." His voice bore the weight of defeat, the sovereign will of God prevailing. The Israelites, now filled with hope and baskets of unleavened bread, embarked on a journey into the light, moving from slavery into the embrace of freedom. Yet the road ahead remained uncertain, with trials looming in the wilderness, weary hearts still clinging to faith. Each step forward echoed a question: could they forsake the false security of Egypt and embrace the unknown future? As they ventured into this uncharted territory, trusting in the God who leads them, one truth remained: freedom was now their calling, and their journey had only just begun. As the sun cast its first rays over the vast expanse of the desert, the Israelites felt both the warmth of hope and the chill of uncertainty grapple in their souls. They had fled the chains of Egypt, leaving behind a land of oppression, yet ahead lay a wilderness unknown, a terrain marked with divinely orchestrated trials and tribulations. Moses led the multitude, fortified by the Spirit of God but burdened with the fears and questions that stirred in the hearts of his people. The cries of liberation still resonated in their ears, but the memories of their enslavement lingered like the bitter taste of the unleavened bread they carried. As they journeyed forth, they found themselves at the banks of the Red Sea, a vast body of water standing between them and the path of their delivery. Fear surged among the people like a great tide, their voices rising in chorus of despair. "Did you bring us out here to die, Moses? Were there not enough graves in Egypt?" They cast their grievances toward him, anguish mixed with doubt stained their faith. Moses, whose heart bore the weight of leadership, raised his arms and turned his gaze toward the horizon where heaven met earth. "Fear not," he proclaimed with a voice firm yet trembling, "stand firm, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will work for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall never see again." In that moment, the breath of God surged through him, igniting a fierce determination within. As he cried out to the Lord, God spoke to him, saying, "Why do you cry to me? Tell the people of Israel to go forward. Lift up your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it, that the Israelites may go through the sea on dry ground." Obedient to the divine command, Moses lifted his staff high, feeling the weight of heaven's authority coursing through him. As his hand stretched toward the waters, the sea began to part, a roaring, thundering miracle as the waters stood like walls on either side. A path emerged, dry and safe, for the Israelites to tread carefully. With hearts renewed, they moved forward into the depths of the miraculous. The water, so vast and threatening, became a mere backdrop for the glory of God being unveiled. As they crossed the threshold, the triumph of faith resounded in each heartbeat and step, a testament to God's promise-keeping. But behind them, the heart of Pharaoh continued to harden, still chasing them with fury unleashed. As the last of the Israelites stepped onto the far shore, Moses turned back, and the mighty wind that had made a way for them began to shift. The walls of water crashed down upon the Egyptians, sealing their fate amid the chaos. On that day, the people of Israel saw the great power of the Lord displayed against their enemies, and they feared the Lord, and they believed in him and in his servant Moses. Songs of praise erupted from their lips. Miriam, daughter of Aaron, led them in a dance, proclaiming how the Lord had triumphed gloriously. Yet deep within the hearts of the Israelites, questions remained. The wilderness spread infinitely ahead, and the challenges of survival loomed as shadows danced in the midday sun. Should they trust in God's ongoing provision despite their immediate uncertainties? Thus, as they moved deeper into the desolate expanse, an urgent whisper rippled through the hearts of the faithful. What was God's true plan for them? What lay ahead in this promised journey toward the land flowing with milk and honey? With each passing moment, one truth echoed in the depths of their souls: liberation was only the beginning, for the hand of God was yet to unearth the fullness of his sovereign plan, shaping a nation that would echo through the ages. As the Israelites gathered themselves after the deliverance from the Red Sea, the echo of singing and dancing lingered in the air. Yet, with every victorious moment, the arid wilderness loomed large with its uncertainties. The desert stretched before them like an uncharted expanse, filled with hidden dangers and unmet needs. Moses, sensing the unease among the multitude, turned to them with the wisdom imparted by God. "Remember this day, for you are now a people set apart," he urged. "You are to observe this deliverance not just in the songs on your lips, but in the very fabric of your lives." He stood firm, resolute in his obedience, mindful of the great responsibilities laid upon him. As days passed, the people's hunger began to gnaw at their spirits like an insatiable thirst. Their hearts became heavy with complaints. "What shall we eat?" they cried out. "In Egypt, we sat by pots of meat, you have brought us to this wilderness to starve." Each word was a dagger aimed at Moses' heart, revealing the fragile nature of their faith. In that moment of despair, God responded to the cries of his chosen. In the quietness of the early dawn, a light mist covered the ground around the camp. As it lifted, the people beheld a strange, white substance, delicate and shimmery manna, God's miraculous provision. "What is it?" they asked in bewilderment, and Moses replied, "It is the bread the Lord has given you to eat. Gather enough for each person," Moses commanded, "and do so daily. You shall know that it is I who am your provider." As they gathered this heavenly gift, a fresh gratitude welled up among them, lifting their spirits out of despondency and filling their hearts with the sweetness of trust. Yet, even as they tasted bread from heaven, tensions arose. Some, lacking faith, gathered more than was required, believing they could stockpile God's provision. When morning came, they found it spoiled and crawling with worms. You must trust in the Lord's timing, Moses reminded them. For 6 days you shall gather, but on the 7th, you are to rest and remember the Lord. In the evenings, quails visited the camp, bringing meat for the weary travelers. Each meal became a testament to the daily grace that accompanied their journey. Yet, within this cycle of miraculous supply, whispers of rebellion began to stir. In the hearts of some, the burden of reliance on God became a heavy chain. Would that we had died in Egypt! They cried, blinded by the past. Moses sought the Lord in the tent of meeting, and God spoke again, "Your people are stiff-necked and quick to forget the wonders I have done. Yet, I shall lead them not with an iron fist, but with a gentle guidance. For they are like sheep who need a shepherd." Indeed, God's mercy was as profound as his discipline. Days turned into weeks as Israel wandered in the wilderness, faced with trials that tested their fortitude. Their faith fluctuated, yet God remained steadfast, providing water from a rock, leading them by a cloud by day and a fire by night, unfolding his plan with each passing moment. In every moment of doubt, every cry for release from discomfort, the Israelites were challenged to remember their journey was not just toward a promised land, but a journey into the heart of knowing their God intimately. As Moses stood before the people one evening, the stars twinkling above like promises unfulfilled, he could feel the weight of destiny gathering. What more did the Lord have planned for his people? Each challenge was not merely a trial, but a step toward something greater, an intimacy with the divine, a covenant nation called to reflect his glory. And in this revealing tension, a thought dawned upon him: the Lord is preparing something deeper, something eternal. Our liberation carries an even greater promise. The mystery of God's sovereign plan lingered like the scent of the manna in the air, leaving the people yearning for more, seeking understanding of the path ahead. As the sun rose over the arid landscape, casting golden rays upon the camp of Israel, Moses stood at the entrance of the tent, his heart heavy with the burdens of leadership. The complaints of the people echoed in his mind, haunting him with memories of their longing for the comforts of Egypt. Yet, he turned his face to the sky, seeking strength from the one who had liberated them. "Lord," Moses prayed, "you have called me to lead this people, yet their hearts are filled with discontent. Show me how to guide them in your ways." In that moment, God's presence enveloped him, a familiar warmth amidst the chill of human frailty. The Lord spoke, his voice steady and profound, "Gather the elders of Israel and bring them to the tent of meeting. For I shall reveal to you the depth of my intention, that your people may learn to lean wholly upon me." Obediently, Moses called forth the leaders among the Israelites, their faces lined with worry and apprehension. As they assembled, a strange stillness settled upon the camp, as if creation itself paused to witness the unfolding of divine revelation. "The Lord has heard your cries," Moses declared, his voice strong despite the stirring doubts around him. "He has a purpose for us in this wilderness." As the elders listened intently, God commanded Moses, "On the 15th day of this month, you shall begin a new feast unto the Lord. It shall be a celebration of remembrance and deliverance, a week of unleavened bread, when all the people shall eat no leaven, for they will remember the haste with which I brought them out of Egypt. And on the 10th day, let each family take a lamb, without blemish," God continued. "And you shall sacrifice it. The blood of the lamb is the sign upon the doors, marking my people as I pass through the land. When I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not destroy you." As Moses received these words, an awe-inspiring weight filled the atmosphere, and the elders looked at each other, recognizing the profound significance of God's instruction. Manna and quail had sustained them, but now they were to partake in something greater, a covenant sign that would echo through generations. Then the Lord reminded him, "This shall be a day of remembrance for you and your children forever. Teach them diligently about my mighty hand and how I brought you out of bondage. For these symbols shall forever remind you that I am your deliverer." With hearts ignited by divine purpose, Moses conveyed God's message to the people, who listened with a mixture of skepticism and wonder. Yet deep within their yearning souls, a flicker of hope ignited. Perhaps they were destined for something far beyond their present circumstances. As they gathered their families, preparing for the sacred observance, a sense of anticipation filled the air. The preparations resonated with deeper meanings. The blood, the sacrifice, and the promise of protection stirred their spirits. For in every element, God's sovereign plan was woven, an intricate tapestry that hinted at the ultimate deliverance yet to come. But as the festival approached, uncertainty lingered. Some debated amongst themselves, doubting the necessity of such rituals and fearful of the unknown. Moses, they questioned, what if this deliverance is but a fleeting memory? What if calamity strikes again? In that tension, the Lord spoke once more to Moses, his spirit quelling the revolts of despair. Assuredly, I will deliver you, not only from bondage but into true freedom. Your obedience shall be the defining hallmark of this promise. Each act of remembrance shall lead you toward my eternal covenant. As the night settled upon the camp, a cloud of glory encircled the tabernacle, the divine presence that would guide them through the wilderness of endless trials. And as the first stars twinkled in the night sky, carrying the weight of solemn promises, Moses pondered the deep mystery of God's plan, knowing that what lay ahead was not merely a physical journey, but a revelation of faith that would transcend the ages. The Lord is preparing to reveal the fullness of his redemptive destiny, he mused. For this deliverance holds an eternal truth, a story yet untold that few could fathom. But what will it lead us to? The question lingered, filled with otherworldly suspense. And it came to pass that as the sun dipped low upon the horizon, casting a crimson glow over the camp of Israel, the air filled with the palpable anticipation of the festival to come. Families stood poised, eager yet anxious, for the night of the sacrifice approached. Moses, sensing the weight of the moment, called the people together, an indomitable spirit igniting within him. "Gather, O Israel!" he proclaimed, his voice echoing across the encampment. "Tonight, we enter into a sacred remembrance. The Lord, our God, commands us to act in faith. Let the blood of the Lamb mark our doors, that we may be shielded from the judgment that shall pass through Egypt." A murmur swept through the crowd, a mix of uncertainty and faith. Many voiced fears. What if the Lord does not protect us? What if we were better off in Egypt? But Moses, standing resolute, raised his hands, and silence fell upon them. "Fear not. For the Lord has not abandoned us. He has chosen us as his own. This lamb will be a sign of his covenant, a symbol of his faithfulness. As we partake in this sacrifice, let our hearts be ever mindful of his deliverance." As families began to sacrifice their lambs, the sound of the people's obedience rang clear as cries of faith emerged amidst the sobs of sorrow. The crimson blood flowed as a vivid reminder of the redemption that lay before them. The Israelites painted their doorposts with the sacrificial blood, uniting them in a collective act of faith. As night enveloped the land, darkness began to spread across Egypt, a thick palpable darkness that gripped the hearts of the Egyptians in terror. Yet within the camp of Israel, a radiant peace settled, as if the very presence of God wrapped around them, soothing their anxious spirits. "Tonight," Moses declared, "as we feast upon the roasted lamb, unleavened bread, and bitter herbs, let each bite speak of our bitter bondage and the joy of our redemption. For the Lord has promised us freedom. Let us teach our children of his mighty hand and tell the story of our deliverance. Let every generation remember this night." Meanwhile, the firstborn of Egypt lay restless, and a sense of doom crept into the homes of Pharaoh and his people. As the midnight hour approached, the Lord, true to his word, moved through the land. The wails of grief soon pierced the stillness of the night, echoing the sorrow of a people turned away from the Almighty. At that hour, the Lord's presence became a powerful reminder of justice and mercy intertwined. For while deliverance was wrought in the homes of the Israelites, it came at a great cost to the sons of Egypt. In the heart of the camp, the people wept in joy and relief. They raised their voices in songs of triumph as they felt the weight of oppression lift, knowing they had obeyed the Lord's command. And the fear that once plagued them began to dissolve into hope, for their liberation was at hand. Moses felt the stirring of the Spirit within him as he witnessed their faith. "This is but the beginning," he cried out. Through this act, God declares his eternal promise. He will lead us to a land of flowing milk and honey, where we shall worship him freely, forever established in his covenant. And in the depths of that sacred night, when the blood of the Lamb symbolized protection and the promise of freedom, the heavens echoed with the plans of the Almighty. What they did not yet know was that their deliverance would foreshadow a greater sacrifice yet to unfold, a prophecy unrolled, echoing through time. "Behold," Moses declared with fervor in his eyes, "what the Lord has set in motion tonight will ripple through the ages. For he moves in ways that we cannot yet fathom. A deliverer shall come from our midst, one who will forever change the course of history." As the dawn broke, with the first light illuminating the land, the Israelites prepared to depart, for a new chapter was dawning. Yet, amidst the excitement of deliverance, a lingering question filled the air: what further wonders lay ahead in the unfolding of God's sovereign plan? The response awaited in the hearts of those who dared to believe. And it came to pass that as the first rays of sunlight pierced the darkness, the Israelites stirred with purpose and hope, for the Lord had indeed delivered them. They gathered their belongings, hastening to follow the command of Moses. The echoes of mourning from Egypt resounded like a distant storm, yet the hearts of God's chosen people swelled with a sense of freedom. "Behold!" Moses called out, his voice unwavering as he raised his staff. "Today we leave the land of our affliction. For the Lord has heard our cries and has seen our suffering. He has brought us forth as a mighty nation, prepared to enter into the promises he has spoken." The streets of Egypt were met with the sounds of lamentation and chaos, as the Egyptians hurriedly urged the Israelites to depart. "Take all that you will need," they urged. "Go quickly, lest our own lives be lost." The weight of their grief propelled the children of Israel into action, each household clutching the remnants of a night marked by divine intervention. In the haste, they did not have time to leaven their bread, and it was thus that they carried with them unleavened loaves. As the sun rose higher, Moses instructed them regarding their journey. "Remember the instructions of the Lord. Keep the Passover as a feast for generations. Each year, this day shall be a memorial, reminding us of his mighty hand." As they journeyed forth from Ramses, the Israelites moved as one, their hearts beating with faith, their spirits alive with hope. They walked through the wilderness, guided by a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night, the visible presence of the Almighty leading them onward. Yet as they tread upon the sands, echoes of doubt whispered within some corners. "Have we done the right thing?" Some murmured. "What if Pharaoh changes his mind? What if our journey is filled with peril?" But Moses, ever bolstered by the Spirit of the Lord, turned to the people, his countenance radiant. "Fear not. The Lord who delivered you from Egypt is with us still. He will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace." Now, word of their flight reached Pharaoh, reigning in despair, for the loss of his firstborn had ignited a fierce longing to reclaim his slaves. "What have we done?" he cried out. "Let us pursue them before they escape our grasp." Thus, he assembled his chariots and soldiers, and the fury of his heart blinded him to the great acts of the God of Israel. As the Israelites encamped by the shores of the Red Sea, the sound of approaching hooves echoed like a dark shadow behind them. With terror striking their hearts, they looked back to see the forces of Pharaoh advancing, their determination to reclaim what they had lost palpable in the tense air. Fear swelled among them, and they raised their voices in complaint. "Did we not say to you, Moses, to leave us in Egypt? It would have been better to serve the Egyptians than die in this wilderness." But Moses, unwavering, turned to the Lord in prayer. "O Lord, what shall we do?" And the Lord answered him, saying, "Why do you cry to me? Tell the children of Israel to go forward." In that moment, faith ignited in the hearts of the people, for the same God who brought them out of Egypt would not abandon them now. Moses lifted his staff, and the sea began to part, revealing dry ground as a path through the depths. "Walk forth with courage, O people of God. He declared. For this day, the Lord will show you his great power and judgment upon your enemies. This day shall mark a turning point, a covenant promise unveiled before the eyes of the nations. As they stepped into the midst of the waters, the thunderous waves towering on either side, the hearts of the faithful rejoiced. Little did they know that this act of deliverance was but a glimpse of a more profound deliverance that the Lord would orchestrate through the ages. Thus the Israelites journeyed through the sea, a pathway carved by the hand of Yahweh himself, and behind them, the mighty armies of Pharaoh plunged into chaos. For God's plans were ever more grand than man could perceive, woven into the very fabric of redemption. In this moment, awaited realization loomed, for in their deliverance echoed a promise yet to unfold, a deliverer, one promised to all nations, who would writhe through suffering yet bring forth salvation. What revelation would emerge from the shadows of the sea, leading them toward the kingdom that was to come? And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, making the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. The children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. And the Egyptians pursued, and went in after them to the midst of the sea, even all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. And it came to pass that in the morning watch, the Lord looked unto the host of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and of the cloud, and troubled the host of the Egyptians. He took off their chariot wheels, so that they drave them heavily. And the Egyptians said, Let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord fighteth for them against the Egyptians. But the Almighty commanded Moses once more, saying, Stretch out thy hand over the sea, that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen. And Moses obeyed, extending his hand over the waters of the sea, and it returned to its strength when the morning appeared. The waters covered the chariots and the horsemen, and all the host of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them, there remained not so much as one of them. Thus the Lord saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the sea shore. And Israel saw that great work which the Lord did upon the Egyptians, and the people feared the Lord and believed the Lord, and his servant Moses. Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto the Lord, and spake, saying, I will sing unto the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously, the horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea. The song echoed across the shores, rejoicing in salvation, a melody of freedom and divine power. And Miriam, the prophetess, took a timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. And Miriam answered them, Sing ye to the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously, the horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea. As the celebration rose, the people rejoiced with fervent hearts, yet the wilderness awaited them, laden with trials and tests. They journeyed 3 days into the wilderness, and found no water. And when they came to Marah, they could not drink of the waters of Marah, for they were bitter. Therefore the name of it was called Marah. And the people murmured against Moses, saying, What shall we drink? But Moses cried unto the Lord, and the Lord shewed him a tree, which when he had cast into the waters were made sweet. There he made for them a statute and an ordinance, and there he tested them, saying, If thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, and wilt do that which is right in his sight, and wilt give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptians, for I am the Lord that healeth thee. And they journeyed to Elim, where were 12 wells of water and 70 palm trees, and they encamped there by the waters. Yet in the hearts of the people, there lingered a desire for more, a yearning for understanding of their purpose. For God had greater plans than their immediate comfort. As the days unfolded, he would reveal not only the path of physical deliverance, but the nature of a covenant that would transcend time. In the shadows of the desert, awaited a destiny woven with divine promise, igniting hope for a future where the eternal deliverer would walk among them, delivering not just from bondage in Egypt but from the very bondages of sin itself. What profound purpose would emerge from their journey through the wilderness, a prelude to a greater revelation to unfold. And they departed from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the 2nd month after their departing out of the land of Egypt. And the whole congregation murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, Would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full, for ye have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Then said the Lord unto Moses, Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them, whether they will walk in my law or no. And it came to pass, that in the evening the quails came up, and in the morning the dew lay round about the host. And when the dew that lay was gone up, behold, upon the face of the wilderness there lay a small round thing, as small as the hoarfrost on the ground. And when the children of Israel saw it, they said one to another, It is manna, for they wist not what it was. And Moses said unto them, This is the bread which the Lord hath given you to eat. This is the thing which the Lord hath commanded, gather of it every man according to his eating, and omer for every man, according to the number of your persons, take ye every man for them which are in his tents. And the children of Israel did so, and gathered, some more, some less. And when they did meet it with an omer, he that gathered much had nothing over, and he that gathered little had no lack, they gathered every man according to his eating. And Moses said, Let no man leave of it till the morning. Notwithstanding they hearkened not unto Moses, but some of them left of it until the morning, and it bred worms, and stank, and Moses was wroth with them. And they gathered it every morning, every man according to his eating, and when the sun waxed hot, it melted. And it came to pass, that on the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for one man, and all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. And he said unto them, This is that which the Lord hath said, Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Lord, bake that which ye will bake today, and seethe that ye will seethe, and that which remaineth over lay up for you to be kept until the morning. And they laid it up till the morning, as Moses bade, and it did not stink, neither was there any worm therein. And Moses said, Eat that today, for today is a Sabbath unto the Lord, today ye shall not find it in the field. And so it was, that they gathered the manna every morning, and it sustained them throughout their journey. Yet in their hearts, a discontent began to murmur again, while the Lord continued to provide. In the solitude of the wilderness, God desired to teach them not just to rely upon the bread that perished but upon every word that proceeded out of his mouth. For he would lead them to a covenant, unveiling a promise more profound than the daily sustenance they received. Yet, unbeknownst to them, as they feasted upon the manna, they were partaking in a divine foreshadowing of a greater bread, one that was to come in the fullness of time, a bread of life that would nourish their souls eternally. The Lord Almighty was setting the stage for his glory to be revealed, leading them toward a destiny where the promise would unfold, intertwining the past with a future divine representation. What revelations would await them at Sinai, where heaven would descend to meet man? Thus, the covenant made by God would prepare the way for a deliverance far greater, a deliverance of the spirit and soul, heralding the coming of the one who would one day be the true bread from heaven. And the children of Israel journeyed onward, their feet dusted with the sands of the wilderness, as the Lord led them with a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. They murmured among themselves, their hearts heavy with doubt, asking, Is the Lord among us or not? Yet, each dawn, the gift of manna appeared, a testimony of his faithfulness. And it came to pass that the people grew weary of the manna, and they began to long for the fish and the cucumbers and the melons of Egypt. They raised their voices again against Moses and Aaron, saying, Would it not have been better for us to remain in bondage than to die in this desolate land? Then Moses cried out to the Lord, and the Lord said unto him, I will provide for my people. I will send them flesh to eat. And he instructed Moses to gather 70 elders of Israel, that they might witness the outpouring of his grace. So Moses went forth and spoke unto the people, Thus saith the Lord, At evening shall ye eat flesh, and in the morning shall ye be filled with bread. For the Lord has heard your murmurings. And a wind from the Lord swept down from the sea, and quails came from the sea and covered the camp. The people gathered quails throughout the night, and in the morning, their hunger was sated. Yet, the Lord was displeased, and he said, "For you have despised the Lord, and you shall eat until it comes out at your nose, for your hearts have rebelled." And as they feasted, a great plague struck the camp, and many were smitten. Thus, the graves of lust rose among them, a testament to the folly of their discontent. After this, they journeyed to a place called Kibroth-Hattaavah, which means the graves of craving, and the people wept there, for they had tested the Lord's patience. Yet even in his anger, God's mercy was evident. He renewed his covenant with them, reminding them of his power and might. As they camped in the wilderness of Sinai, they approached Mount Sinai. The people stood afar off, and Moses drew near to the thick darkness where God was. And the Lord spoke, and his voice was like thunder. "Prepare thyself, O Israel, for the third day, for I will come down upon the mount in the sight of all the people. Sanctify yourselves, and be ready." On the third day, it came to pass that there was thundering and lightning, and a thick cloud covered the mountain. The sound of the trumpet grew louder and louder. The people trembled in fear, for they beheld the glory of the Lord, descending in fire. Flames did not consume the mountain, but resounded like the very voice of God. And the Lord spoke, "I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage." And he began to deliver the commandments, establishing his covenant with his chosen people, his desire to dwell among them. Thus, the Israelites stood in awe, at the threshold of a divine revelation that would change their hearts and set a course for generations. Yet, in their wonder, they understood not that these words were but a shadow, for the true fulfillment of the law was yet to come through the one who would embody the very essence of the law. As they stood trembling at the foot of Sinai, a deeper mystery unfolded, a divine promise whispered through the ages, heralding a new deliverance yet known. For who could fathom the depths of the covenant woven in love, or the expanse of grace that awaited them across the sands of time? Thus, a new chapter in God's sovereign plan was about to be revealed, a plan etched in the hearts of man and the very heavens above. And it came to pass that the Israelites, having received the divine law upon the sacred mount, began to comprehend the gravity of their covenant with the Almighty. Moses, with his face aglow from the presence of God, descended from Mount Sinai, bearing the tablets etched with the very finger of God, a testament to their identity as his chosen people. "Behold the commandments of the Lord," Moses proclaimed, his voice resonating with authority as he addressed the multitude. "These are the statutes by which you shall live, the laws that shall govern your hearts and guide your steps. Let them not be mere words on stone, but a living covenant that binds us to our God." The people listened with reverence, yet a stirring of restlessness began to swell within some hearts. Though they had witnessed the might of God and his miraculous deliverances, temptation lurked in the shadows of their memories of the familiar comforts of Egypt. As Moses spoke, they began to wrestle between faith and fear, praise and doubt. In the camp below, Aaron, held captive by the murmuring discontent of the people, succumbed to their pleas. "Let us make a god to go before us," they urged, their hearts yearning for something tangible to worship. Thus, the golden calf was fashioned, an image of rebellion against the very God who had liberated them from the chains of slavery. When Moses beheld the idolatry of his people, his heart shattered. He shattered the tablets in righteous anger and ascended the mountain once more to plead for mercy. "O Lord, this people have sinned greatly." Moses cried out, "Yet remember your covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. For in your mercy, find a way to forgive their transgressions, and let not your name be diminished among the nations." In that moment of profound intercession, the Lord spoke, "I have seen my people, and they are a stiff-necked people. Yet, I will spare them according to your plea. Bring forth the new tablets, for I will engrave once more my covenant upon their hearts." Moses returned with new tablets and, as he stood among the people, he consecrated them, reminding them of their holy calling. "You are a people set apart, called to reflect the glorious light of the Lord. Do not stray into the temptations of the world, but cling to his righteousness and trust in his unfailing love." With hearts renewed, the Israelites turned back to God. The wilderness was no longer a place of despair but a privy to God's divine provision and presence. As they journeyed forward, encamped at the foot of Sinai and later weaving through the vastness of the desert, God's hand led them through pillars of cloud by day and fire by night, a constant reminder of his faithfulness. Gather the people for worship, Moses commanded, as he instructed them in offerings and the significance of the tabernacle, the place where God's presence would dwell among them. The connection began to deepen, their hearts resonating with a longing to commune with the Almighty as they crafted a dwelling place for His glory. And thus, the Israelites flourished in the wilderness, forging a community marked by obedience and love for the Lord, each individual becoming a living testament to God's grace and sovereign plan. Years unfolded, trials persisted, yet they learned to trust, to repent, and to seek the Lord. And the God who led them out of bondage continued to speak, promising a future filled with hope. A land flowing with milk and honey awaited them just beyond the horizon. But even amid their steadfastness, shadows flickered, hints of doubt lingering among them. They yearned for the fullness of His promise that awaited at their destination. When will the Lord bring us into this promised land? They questioned in whispers of anxious hearts. Moses, weary yet steadfast, reminded them, "Patience shall be your strength." This journey is as much about the transformation of your hearts as it is about reaching the land promised. Do not forget the lessons learned in the desert, for they are shaping you into a holy nation. Thus, their journey continued, and they rose up. In fervent worship, hearts aligned in unison as they sang songs of deliverance and gratitude. This was no longer just a fleeting moment of freedom, it was the forging of a legacy founded upon faith. In time, God, in His infinite wisdom, would bring forth a new deliverer who would not merely guide them to a physical promised land, but invite all humanity into a spiritual inheritance beyond measure. This was the culmination of God's eternal plan, the weaving of both covenant and grace through generations. And so, as the sun set on the desert horizon, illuminating the path ahead, the Israelites stood in unity, resolved to follow the leading of their God, echoing in their hearts the truth of His promises, "For He who has delivered us will surely bring us home." Therefore, dear family in faith, reflect on this miraculous journey of the Israelites, recognizing the profound truths it imparts. The Lord, in every moment of your life, calls you deeper into His embrace. Take a moment now to witness how God's story echoes through your own life. You need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's Word, that you may hear these truths and more, for your journey awaits. Leave a like now to help spread God's Word through the algorithm, that many may know of His faithfulness. Comment your spiritual reflections and let us know how this biblical story has impacted your faith. Your testimony is a powerful light in a world of shadows. And don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth. Together, we can magnify His name. For this journey of faith is one we walk together, reflecting the glorious works of the Lord as we fulfill His eternal purpose in our lives.